In today's show, we discuss what is the 4B movement and how could it affect all women.
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Taya Boya. Taya, hello, my friend, once again. I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah, what the hell, Tony? What you gonna do? What's funny, Tony?
I'm just looking at the hat.
Oh, the hat.
You have to
My,
explain to
my camouflage tinfoil hat. All the
Uh,
conspiracies that are running around and how close we are to the Third World War, etc.,
uh,
etc., and
do
blah,
you
blah,
know?
blah.
Do you know what's happening to the video? Every time you put your head down, it blurs you out. So I don't know whether that is trying to focus on you. So when you
Oh,
put the
every time
head
I put
down,
my head down,
your
I
head
can't
down,
see.
it blurs you. You actually get blurred out because it
Oh,
can't tell between your background and your hat for some
racist
reason.
camera.
Anyway, you got out of it last time. You
Yeah.
got to do it this time. You've got to say hi to our audience. Come on.
Oh, did I get out of it last time?
You did, and you gloated at the end of the show that you
I shouldn't
didn't
have gloated. I should. Maybe I should just. No, I apologize. I shouldn't. I should never gloat.
Come on, say hi to our audience.
Oh,
Come
what?
on.
You still remember? Damn it. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. I'm happy. I'm happy to do that. Not a problem.
Go on then. He's squirming now.
um, yeah, okay. Hey, you
Go on,
know,
say it. Hi, audience.
this is ridiculous. All right, hi, good Lord. Hi there. Hi, audience. What the hell are you?
Finally.
Jeez.
I got him to say it.
Oh,
Oh,
good
dear me.
Lord.
Anyway, let's move on with the show. Today's show is another topic that Tayo has selected. And what we're going to discuss today, or try to anyway, is this topic. What is the 4B movement and how could it affect all women? Now, Tayo, do you want to elaborate what 4B is? Because I dare say a lot of our listeners won't have a clue as to what that means.
Okay, the 4B movement is a South Korean movement. It's a gynocentric, female-centric movement. It's actually a movement started by women in South Korea. And it is literally the 4 Bs, as B for Bravo, as B in the letter B for Bravo. And the 4 Bs are, now I can't do a South Korean accent, probably, yet I'm going to try and I will fail, but it's fun. So the 4 Bs are Bihon, Bishuslan, Bione, Bisexu.
Not
Now,
bad. Not bad.
yeah, but
Give it.
actual South Korean people are
Okay.
falling out of their chairs, laughing their heads off.
At your
The ones
pronunciation.
who aren't covering their ears, running screaming from the room. So I'll do it again in an English accent. Bihon, Bichu slang, Biyone, and Bisexu, which translates in English to no dating, no sex, no marriage, no child rearing. So it is a form in my westernized way of looking at it, at things from a Western point of view. It's a bit reminiscent of earlier European societies where women, especially very pious ones, would either go into a nunnery or in another way become celibate and denounce male relationships with males. So it's not entirely unseen historically speaking, but for South Korea and for the modern era, it is a thing. No dating, no sex, no marriage, and no child rearing.
Okay. Now, can you see why they've, well, in particular in South Korea, why they've chosen to really start this movement?
I have not seen anything rather than a rather generalized statement, which is that the it's part of a South Korean broader feminist movement, which is to address issues that they claim is gender inequality and the pressure of societal expectations. This is the pressure that South Korean society has on its women to settle down and to bear children, which is not entirely unexpected, since South Korea is one of the worst countries for producing a replacement population, isn't it? So
It is, it
it's
is.
understandable why the government's a bit concerned.
But the movement itself, though, the principles and motivations for them to form this is because that their role in society, because it is a very patriarchal society, their roles are not deemed, how can we say, important
Mm.
as much as the males. And we in the West have had more autonomy for women for a number of years. Suffragettes who in the early 1900s got the right to vote and things like that. Now, we're not saying the South Koreans women are prevented from voting because they can vote. But what is an issue over there is that they, the society as a whole, is based on Confucian. I can't even say
Confucianism.
this. Confucianism, okay, which emphasizes hierarchical relationships and and the men holding the dominant position. And so there's certain expectations of women where they have to be almost like we old school used to teach children should be seen and not heard. And women in that society are not quite to that degree, but not that far from it either. So they want a little bit more autonomy, and this has appeared because they are lacking in the same equalities as men are, and so they're it's like what you said, strangely enough, while we're recording this show, there's been a number of incidents in the UK where people have cause violence because their opinions, as Tayo has said, is not being heard. And so it's expressing those opinions in a violent way because they don't have, or they believe they don't have the channel in order to express those opinions. And in South Korea, this movement is stemming from a similar angle where the women in the past haven't had that ability to express how they feel. So now it's manifested itself in a movement which, on paper, when you look at it, seems rather severe.
Mm. Well, who is a long-term listener of this show and doesn't know a MGTOW? MGTOW, men going their own way. We are not exactly pro feminism or more pro feminist. In fact, we are the exact opposite of whatever it is. Now, I wouldn't say that we are misogynists, although we've been accused of being misogynists, but that's not quite where we're at.
How can you define, just for clarity's sake, especially for our audience, we may have listeners tuning into our show for the first time, not understanding first off what MGTOW is
Right.
and how does it differ, and so that you've got clear gap between you and someone who's a misogynist, who you
Sure.
clearly not favorable.
Okay. MGTOW stands for MGTOW, and it means men going their own way. It's a state of mind, not an organization. It's not even a brotherhood, although we do tend to call each other brother and things like that. Well, not things like that, brother. but it's not really a brotherhood. There are no edicts or statutes or anything that you have to swear to or anything like that. It's simply a state of mind in which you recognize that in the West, we live in a gynocentric world, and it is a dangerous system for men. For example, believe all women, which is a ludicrous, stupid thing to say, because that means that no woman anywhere has ever told a lie. It's bonkers. But if
I
we
thought
believe
that
all
that was an
women,
opinion rather than a statement of fact.
well, if it's actually a statement upon which many courts in the US, again, whenever I talk about these things, I am very US centric, even though I live in the UK. It is a thing that US courts and US academia has taken on board as being a fact, which is why there are so many cases now, finally, of male students fighting back and suing the hell out of universities who have thrown them out of university and withdrawn their scholarships and whatnot for allegations of sexual misconduct based entirely on a woman's say so. Entirely. And in fact, two very famous cases. This occurred after one case. One case occurred after an actual jury looked at video evidence and said, no, the guy is innocent. And then they still threw him out of university and they still withdrew his scholarship. Unfortunately, he's going after them to the tune of 100 million, and we all hope he wins. Another guy,
I think that was purely based on the disrepute that brought to the name of the university, because even though he won the case,
hmm,
the university's name was brought through the mud, and it was affecting other entrants, because obviously over there they totally relied on money.
yes,
And when your name has been dragged through the mud, so to speak, well, it's by association, then they wanted to do what they could to rectify that, and hence they wanted to get rid of him, because the longer he stayed at the university, the association of what went on and the public outcry when it initially went out in the media was still there. He was still getting the press and people like that interfering, as far as I understood. And this is something the university didn't want. So they took the decision to oust him from the university, which obviously backfired, because that's now left him with no other choice but to sue the university, which is further tarnishing their name and bringing it through the mire. So that
the
backfired
idea
somewhat.
that a university, to protect its name, will harass the innocent party, the one that's been found innocent in the court of law, and not the guilty party, which is the one who made the false allegation. The idea of that is ludicrous. And also, he is not just suing the university, he's suing the university and a female organization, which he says is the one that has been pushing for a certain outcome all through the case. So I can't remember the name of the organization, but there are two people that are co-defendants basically, and he's doing them both. And by the way, I could say his name. I suppose I could find out. It's not at the top of my head. But what is the woman's name? Why don't we know what her name is? I mean, she made a false allegation. I mean, so why is that in the quiet? So anyway, MGTOW, we see things like this, we get upset about it, and it's the system we don't like. He said, what's the difference between MGTOW and misogyny? Misogynists don't like women. The problem, MGTOW don't have a problem per se in itself with women. We have a problem with the system. It's the system that is the issue. It's not women.
But the statement of men going alone,
Mm-hmm. Men going their own way.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you rely on women. You can't go your own way
What do you mean
completely.
rely on women?
So do you cook and clean for yourself, or do
No.
you rely on your wife?
I don't know about rely, but
Does she
and
feed
anyway,
you? Does she wash for you? Does she iron your
Does she
clothes?
wash? No, she doesn't wash for me and iron my clothes. What does it matter with you?
What, your clothes? Your clothes
Yeah, of
washing
course
for
not.
you? Do
No.
you wash all your own clothes?
Yeah.
Do you iron all your own clothes?
No.
Does she do that?
No.
Okay. So men going it alone, I could
But
understand.
a man, if I wasn't married, because they're MGTOW monks, there are 5 levels of MGTOW. The MGTOW monk doesn't have anything to do with men. He is the exact male equivalent of a 4B woman.
Yes.
Right? That's the MGTOW monk. Then you got the second level of MGTOW. They date, but they're not going to get married. Then you have a third level, a fourth level, and the fifth level is even PUA, the pickup artists. They actually go out there and they want to sleep with as many women as they can. But all MGTOW, the problem we have, all of us, that thing that binds us together is we're against the system.
Okay.
So we're not misogynist. So
Against men.
I'm married MGTOW, for example.
Yeah.
That's level 4. So what the hell?
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, these women and in a certain degree, MGTOW, what are we trying to do? We're trying to break the system. And I suppose that's what the 4B women are trying to do. So in a way, as I've been saying on MGTOW channels, we and we should be in good harmony together, because we're both trying to say no, we're not pleased with the way society is dealing with this. They want a fair crack of the whip. That's what we want, a fair crack of the whip. No one's asking for special favors or anything like that. All we're trying to say is, before the law, we should be treated equally. That's it. And I have a suspicion that is exactly what the 4B women are trying to do too. So as an individual, I can't speak on behalf of Mate or anybody, but as an individual, I am fully behind them in what they're trying to do. At the same time, because I'm Gemini, because I got this sort of dual personality, it's not going to be that easy. You can't rope me in here, because I have settled now. You and I, we did a show about 2 years ago now, when we said, should we repeal in America? It is the 19th Amendment, which is the amendment that allowed women to vote. Now,
yes.
yeah, okay, yeah. So should we
Which
repeal
I was against your viewpoint, but that's my opinion.
And my viewpoint was, yeah, but we have an issue, which is that I firmly believe you can't stop women from voting if you then tax them. You can't have taxation without representation. So if you tax a person, that person absolutely 100% has a right to vote. That's just the way I see it. Unless, of course, they don't come from that country, which is a different issue, which we'll talk about another day, because I've just thought about it this very second. I've not thought about it before. What if you come from another country, you're being taxed? Yeah, that still doesn't mean I should be able to vote. You're not from that country, but you're being taxed. So interesting problem there. We'll think about it. Back to women. I have since come to the conclusion that a woman's vote should be half a man's vote.
But
They get taxed.
that then removes the element of equality. Their vote.
Well, yeah. It's equality under the law, but their vote, I don't know whether it's the law that's being introduced there, or their what's it called now? What is it that there's a word for it when you're allowed to vote?
Suffragette. No,
suffrage. I think their suffrage is being interfered with, because it's not a one-to-one with men. But at the same time, society has to defend itself from women's emotionality and grievous, what's what I'm looking for? Hysteria.
Do you not think that society defending itself from women's emotions?
Yeah, well, this is why our society, because since the 19th Amendment, since women were granted suffrage, up until now, society is just taking a horrible downward spiral into this horrible thing we saw in the French Olympics opening, and it was predictable. It's not as if it's the first time it has happened. every time the women get some sort of leverage or their hands claws, I could say, claws into the body politic, all hell breaks loose. And it's because men are logical creatures and women are emotional creatures.
Hold on. So you're saying, without evidence, that
What
the
evidence?
French, again, because you mentioned
Oh,
it,
okay,
the
sorry. Okay.
French Olympics,
Mm-hmm.
the opening ceremony, that
Mm-hmm.
was all designed by women, was it?
No, no, no. I said it's not logical. It was the predictable outcome. This gender fluidity, this sexual degeneracy, this all this is perfectly predictable once women have free reign in society. The reason that
You're pointing the finger at women here
yeah,
as if they're the problem child on society as a whole, which is
they are.
complete nonsense.
No, no, it's not
Because
nonsense because everywhere there's a masculine oriented society, you do not have free sexual largesse and degeneracy. But everywhere you've got women who have got their hands into the claws of power, you do have this. It's a black and white situation. There's absolutely no question about it. And it's historical. I sent you a book once, if you call it, as I remember, called Sex and Culture by a gentleman called J.D. Unwin. And he published this book in 1934. And in that book, he went way out of his went all the way out to show that historically, I mean, he went back to the blooming Greeks and the Romans and all the way up to our modern time, and he showed categorically as an academic that every time women are set loose, if you like, from the strictures that men place upon them to defend society, what happens is chaos.
yeah,
So
but
when you look at
you're saying that those societies were far better than ours now. There's no evidence to show that at all. In fact, they were
I'm not saying no,
worse.
you
And
have
you're
to
moving
what.
backwards and forwards, and you're blurring in and out, in and
Oh, well, I'm
out.
getting excited.
I know you're
I'm
getting
blurring.
excited, but you're blurring in and out because
This, I mean,
your background is being affected. Honestly, you've come in and out of
okay, I'll try this.
blurriness.
I'll try to
Try and
contain my.
calm
I'll try to.
this enthusiasm, which are look, you're doing it again.
I'll
Our
try to
audience
contain
want to
myself.
see and
Is it
feel
my?
what
Is it
you know.
my tinfoil?
I think it's your hat that is causing the problem more often than not. If you take that off, you're not quite as bad. Yes.
How about this?
See, it's working. You see.
It's working,
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. It's
but
the
I feel
hat.
my brain being flooded with all these words. No, I don't. So where was I exactly?
You were blaming women for the problems of society
Yeah,
when
yeah. So I'm
in the
actually,
past it
and
was so much better when
it's
there's no
free. It's
evidence
no
for it.
longer. It's in PDF form, ladies and gentlemen. Sex and Culture, J.D. Unwin, 1934. You can easily find it on the internet, and it's in the PDF form. Go grab it and have a look and see this man's argument. And it's not. I'm not even sure it's even controversial anymore. I mean, women don't like to hear it, but it's not controversial. So my point of view, this 4B thing, is that the men in South Korea have to be very careful. It is a strong society. It's still a masculine society. So at this point in time, would they like to bring back the guillotine and introduce it to women who are trying to be too funny about this sort of thing? But what are you trying? What are you then trying to do? Are you then trying to force women into relationships? You can't do that.
No.
So how do you play this? It's a very interesting problem, but for me, it's an academic problem. It's like from a MGTOW point of view, I'm quite happy to try to support them, but I see the dangers of saying, well, we need access to female comforts, if you catch my drift. We need access to females, let's put it like that, and therefore we must kowtow. I would say to the South Koreans, maybe what you do is you import a whole bunch of women from another country and make it worth their while to come in. And there are very poor people, poor women in India on there, and in Bangladesh. So it's just said to single young women, listen, you come in here, you get a nice apartment, you get $1,000 or whatever it is. I don't know what the currency is called. You get a
Oh,
thousand of those every month for 10 years. And then you just make it like, yeah, here we go. Bada boom, bada bing. Everyone's happy. And then they got, and then you can replace your society, yada, yada, blah,
it,
blah, blah.
it's right. The problem that they've got in South Korea is mainly to do with the expectations where women are to prioritize marriage and motherhood above other things. And they don't want these restrictions
Mm.
imposed on them by the society, which is patriarchal.
Mm-hmm.
They want to choose if that's what they want to do, marriage and motherhood, but they don't want it to be expected of them. That's the difference, where that is true freedom. Because why do they not have autonomy to choose? Now, a great many of them will want to choose marriage and motherhood because that's what they want to do. That's absolutely fine. But there, you shouldn't chastise those that don't want to do that because at the moment, society is putting pressure on them in order to do that. Now, if you think about it, okay,
Why is this just taking off just recently?
well, why did ours in the UK only take off in the 70s, 1970s? Do you remember there was TV programs of they were making fun of a woman who didn't have a partner. It was
I
like,
don't remember that. What was that called? Mm.
oh, it was like it was a comedy show in a way, but it was portraying a woman that she was now single with a child, and everyone was shocked. Oh, where's her husband? Where's your husband? And it's like, oh well, I haven't got one. And it's like, and that was only 1970.
Well, seeing as how 70, no, sorry, I beg your pardon, that's a lie. Seeing as now 55 to 57% of offenders are males from single families where
And
the
what was the
mother is
percentage?
the
Sorry.
55 to 57, something like that, 55,
Okay, so still
57.
40% or 42, 43% are from families where there is both a male and female presence. So you can't point the finger at only
Well,
single.
the
It
majority is
is a
from this,
majority,
the
but
majority is from this
you can't
single parent.
exclude that large majority, which is still prevalent, that are from families where they've got male and female role
I
models.
can because
Models.
they're minority. The
Yeah, but they're not
minorities,
not a tiny minority.
well,
It's a fairly
um,
significant one.
it's a significant one, but I mean, you'd have expected it to be 100% or close to 100% if all children were born to two parent families. There was a time when that was the case. 99.9% of all children were born to two parent homes,
Yeah, because
and
society,
100% of them were the criminals.
indeed, but the
But
society
how come
forced
there's
people
this
to
thing?
stay together
Yeah, but how come
because of pressure.
once the single mother phenomenon became common, all of a sudden we see that they are the ones who are unexpectedly now in the majority. Why isn't it that, well, without the toxic masculinity in the house, why aren't they better? Why aren't they a minority, a tiny minority? Why aren't single mothers able to say, you see, only 2% of criminals are from single mothers? Actually, the 2% is from single fathers, not from single mothers,
Yeah,
from
but how
single
many in
fathers.
proportion are there single fathers compared to single mothers?
I
That's a
don't
bit
know.
distorted as well.
Well, might be, but we need a statistician to come in and talk about that. From my point of view, no, but I'm serious. You're the one that said, yeah, he's distorted.
It
From
is
my point of view,
distorted.
just
It's
looking
not
at black
like
and
for
white,
like.
and by the way, why is that the case? Like, that's nothing MGTOW complain about. How come it's not the person who's probably earning better who doesn't end up with the kids? He has to pay these huge sums of money to this woman. Anyway, back,
Because the state doesn't want to do it. It's their
no, because the state makes
responsibility.
money out of it,
Yeah, of
actually.
course, because at the end of the day, if there's a an earner and the female is the nurturer of the two, which
Hmm.
that is true, if there is a breakup in the relationship, then it's going to be biased towards the mother because she's the nurturer if there's kids involved.
That's one of
It's
the most sexist pieces of nonsense I've
but
heard in my life.
think
What do you mean
about
she's
it.
the nurturer?
She's
What
more
is
a
this?
nurturer than
Why?
the father.
Says
Because the
who?
father's more matter of fact, whereas
Yeah.
a child in um The years up to 0 to 4 or 5 is predominantly needing a mother. From
Says who?
this fact, from
No,
5
says who?
onwards, from
And
5
it's not fact.
onwards,
You just made it up.
no,
I
I
don't believe
didn't.
that.
From 5 onwards, the child looks to a father figure.
I
That
need to see
is
references. I need to see
that. Okay,
sources.
I will find those and I will share them and we'll
Fine,
put it
because
in our blurb here.
I poo poo that entirely.
It seems
I
to
think that's
be a genetic thing.
it's not a genetic anything. It's sexist nonsense. Men can look after children just as well
I
as
didn't
women.
say. I never said that one was better than the other.
And possibly those crucial years are exactly the years that they need discipline in their lives, which is why
They
two parents.
need both parents.
Well, it'd be best with two parents, but if you had
Yes,
to have just one,
but
it's better to have discipline than to go all
what
this wishy-washy
happens?
thing. Oh, my feelings. Oh, I can't go out. Oh, I can't fight a war. Oh, I need safe
Why
space.
do you want to
Oh,
fight a
how?
war?
Words. Yeah. You know our army now, we can't even find people to wake up in the flipping morning to hit Revele. Well, how do you pronounce that horrible word? I've hated that word all my life. Revele. It's spelled reveal, but it's pronounced entirely differently.
For what?
The morning, come to parade when you're in the army. Revele. Revele? You've never heard of it, haven't you?
Not that word.
Yeah, anyway,
Okay.
they can't even get them onto the parade ground at 5 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, and that's an army that you're supposed to send to go and fight the Russians and the
I'm not
Chinese.
sure
I
about
laughed.
that. I want to see evidence of that one.
I'd be happy to. Anyway, so
Okay.
you're going to give me evidence of your
about the what the needs of a child are. Early
audience
doors,
members
the
should actually
mother.
write in and say, we want to see you people's evidence all the time. We're going to, and then challenge us to like,
Yeah.
we do, don't we, on the Talkers, TNT Talkers show?
Yes,
Anyway,
absolutely.
Talkers. So where were we? You were saying horrible things and sexist things about men, which is
No, I wasn't.
unacceptable.
You see, there's evidence of children requiring a mother in the formative years, the first up to 4, maybe 5 years old. But then from 5, they no longer need the mother and they're looking for a father figure. And he hoped to
when
be
you're
the father.
breastfeeding, obviously. I mean,
Well, exactly.
that's the best.
Exactly.
That's not nurturing. That's just milk
That
and
is
eggs,
nurturing.
which
There's
is
a
God's
bond
way
being
of saying that
created.
women should be in the kitchen.
That's not what you're saying.
The milk and the eggs. Where'd you find them? Men ain't gonna.
Don't put words into my mouth because I certainly didn't say that. No, but what happens in a relationship is those two elements of a child as they're growing up need both parents. And what's the biggest problem is that parents are not reconciled or working to stay together when problems happen. The system has created a scenario where people can leave one another on a whim. And that's the problem. So it's not the problem in so much that men want to leave or women want them out. It's the system has allowed that to happen and caused this instability in society. And therefore, the children are put in the best interest of the child, which 9 times out of 10 seems to be with the mother. If they're very young, that's what happens.
Right. When I said that the state is making money out of it, again, this is America, not the UK. I don't know what happens in the UK. Maybe I should change my focus to where
I think you should, seeing as
we're
we're talking to a
live.
UK audience as well. Okay, we do have quite a few American listeners, but we still have to account
for Mexicans as well. We found out some weird. Where do we have a lot of
Hungary? Has quite a few places in
Hungary and South America, which is kind of like Tori and I are thinking. Sorry, why are we big in I don't know, is it Mexico or something? Anyway, actually, no, it's not that. It's not what you said. What you said, that the state wants the earner to be able to earn, and that's why they give it to the woman. It doesn't matter who pays, man or woman, right? The American state takes part of that money, the money for the child.
100% of the state take it. It doesn't happen here.
Up to 25% of it.
What?
Up to 25% of it. I read somewhere something stupid like California makes about. I can't remember now. I'll be lying if I
alimony, which is the term they use in the States.
No, child support now. Remember?
Child support.
Just child support.
Okay.
they take out of that child support. And I can't remember the actual figure. It's something horrific. This is
So
just California. They make it, I think, if I remember properly, it's in billions
hold on,
per
hold on.
year.
So they're paying, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
They're paying
that's what we say.
the mother from the father's income and then taxing that. But then the father's income is going to be taxed anyway. You see,
Yeah,
normally what's happened is normally how it works in the UK is if there's a settlement required between ex-husband and ex-wife, where the biggest earner is the husband, children are with the mother, then the father has to pay a set amount to the mother. But that figure is agreed. Now, the father's obviously going to be taxed on his income anyway, and then he has to find, I don't know, £1,000 a month. He then has to pay that to the mother. It's not taxed again. It doesn't work that way. It's taxed at source. So I don't understand how in the American system, the state is taking tax. It must be taking it at the normal point, which is when the husband, or if it's the wife in some cases, is paying the partner, they're paying it from taxed income. So they don't have to pay again. I don't quite understand that. So how are the state making money?
Their argument is that they collected on behalf of the child and that they need to be recompensed for that collection service. That's their argument.
What?
And
So what, the father or mother can't?
Yeah, okay. So actually, good lawyers advise divorcing husband and wife to just sort it out themselves and not
Yes,
involve the state.
Of course. That is the way to do it.
It involves the state. So here in 2023, it's not billions. In 2023, California returned $430 million.
That's fees,
Yeah,
basically.
collected from
Collection fees. I get that.
off
get
the child support. It's not a separate fee. So if you say that the child's supposed to get $100, it's not going to get $100. They're going to be 100 minus whatever the state says.
That's weird. I would have thought that would have been the other way around, where whoever was paying the amount to ensure that the recipient received $100, the payer had to pay a bit more to cover the fee. That would make more logical sense.
Yeah, but that's not what's happening. So that's California 2023.
That sounds a bit strange. Anyway, let's get back onto the 4B element, which is South Korea. I mean, one of the questions is, could this 4B movement impact other countries? What's your
It hasn't so far. It's been limited so far because the idea that Western women are going to not have sex is, of course, ludicrous. They love the damn thing, so they're not going to be in on this no sex.
But the Western women have already got a lot of the things that these South Korean women are fighting for, so to speak. A lot of those have already been provided to a degree. So Western women aren't.
It's not South Korea women who are doing what's it called? Not TikTok. What's the other one? Where you pay them then OnlyFans. It's not South Korea. So you can tell us OnlyFans woman that, hey, you know that 700,000 you earn every year. You got to stop that because I wouldn't want to be the one giving them that message. Okay, so
that's not going to happen. No,
it's not going to happen.
I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more to do because at the end of the day, this 4B movement wouldn't actually prohibit South Korean women from being on OnlyFans. They could still earn that income if they're not doing that.
Do you know how far people go on OnlyFans?
No, I've never watched it or I've
only
heard of it.
So OnlyFans, apparently you go all the way.
What?
All the way.
Really?
Exactly.
Wow.
Right. So I know you and
How
I
does
we're
how
all
does that
we're all
how does that work? I don't is it just sex
when
on
I was
tap or
told
something? What is it?
when I was told this, right? I've went through all the emotions that you went through now. No, what? Really? It's not work. Exactly what you're saying now. So apparently you pay for
Right.
access. Now, a lot of the access is just, I don't know. Look, I'm not trying to be funny. I've never been on OnlyFans. It's what I hear other people talking about. So apparently, you've got news, and then you've got more intimate moments that you pay for. And
Wow.
I
So
think
has the
you can.
platform got a charging system then?
I don't know. I guess. I mean, they're not going to do it for free, are they?
No. How do they
I suppose.
charge then? Do they charge? Is it like now that you've talking about this, I'm likening it to late night TV in the 90s and the noughties. Do you remember? They used to sell all sorts of stuff. Oh, here's the number to phone in and buy this product at this discounted price and give us your credit
Don't they
card
still do
number.
that on the shopping channels?
Yeah, shopping channels.
Yeah.
So is this how OnlyFans works? Is it that if you want to see more, then you pay, or do you have to
That
put your
is
credit card number in up front to be a member? I don't know. I don't get it.
OnlyFans. Well, this is my understanding. OnlyFans earning. Yeah, this is my understanding is that that's. I don't really know. I don't know what the ins and outs are, but
Okay.
hmm,
So, but let's put it this way: OnlyFans is not banned in South Korea.
yeah, but
So there you go. So they could, probably they do already make a living off of that platform, I suspect, because South Korea is a big place. There's a lot of people.
all right, that's a good question that you
There's
just
bound to
asked.
be people on there
Let's
already.
find out. Is there?
You're
Are
going to
there?
find out now, real time. You
Is
got it
there
open.
OnlyFans
So you're
in?
lying that you're not a member. You're a secret member. You
Is
must
there
be.
is there OnlyFans in South Korea? Is there OnlyFans in South Korea? 25 best Korean OnlyFans.
There you go. That's answered that then. So they clearly are on the platform.
Yeah, who'd have known?
And
And what to do? You get a commission on subscription fees. OnlyFans charges a 20% fee on monthly subscription fees. Ah, so fans pay monthly. I didn't know that. Oh, hang on. Then there's a pay per view. OnlyFans charges a 20% fee again on pay per
again,
view,
pay-per-view.
and fans can leave tips. OnlyFans takes 10%.
In addition to that already pay. What's the
Yeah.
oh my lord. They
And they
have
sell OnlyFans sells creators sell merchandise. The
really?
company likely earns a commission on these sales as well, but doesn't give any details here. And then again, it's got advertising and they sell data. So there we go.
So do OnlyFans is it just pure porn or is there other stuff on this
Yeah,
platform?
yeah.
I mean, we digressed a little bit
Good
here, but
question. I have zero. I'm genuinely have never been on the damn platform. I was spelling it as separate words, only space fans. Actually, it's one word.
oh, is it?
Yeah. So I've just learned that this evening. So it's not as if I'm.
It's a clever idea,
Yeah,
but
if you
obviously,
want to be a pimp,
well,
basically.
no, but that's some people who have chosen to do that. So, but what's to stop somebody, okay, they're selling their wares online, aren't they, effectively? So it is a form, is it a form of prostitution?
Of course
Do,
it is.
do we feel that prostitution does it have to be in person?
No, because I believe it's a form of prostitution. I mean, yeah. But I'm
That's a
very, very, very,
definition of
very old school.
prostitution. Hmm.
Hey, listen, I'm very, 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 very old school. I think that a man kissing a woman in an ordinary movie is a form of prostitution.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean,
I'm not
obviously.
sure about that.
Yeah, it's physical contact someone's paid for. You don't like the guy, he's not your husband, he's not your boyfriend, you're kissing him.
Yeah, but
And he's kissing you. So you're both prostitutes.
you're portraying a character. You're in a role for the film, so you're doing a job that you've been asked to do.
Yeah, your job is prostitution. I'm very old school. I believe it was Plato or Archimedes or someone like that who said that he wasn't even comfortable with acting because when you were acting, you were lying because you're not really that person.
That's a little bit extreme in my view.
But I can see his point of view now.
Well, you can
Obviously,
say it, you can take it to that
I
point, but I'm
enjoy
not
I
sure.
enjoy the old Star Wars as much as the next person. But I was a little comfortable when Luke kissed his sister. Okay, I'm just saying.
Well, he didn't
Uh,
kiss his sister. He only pecked her on the cheek. They
well,
didn't
that's.
didn't
I
they
don't think
didn't
that was platonic. It didn't seem platonic. Anyways, I was uncomfortable.
Okay.
It still makes me
Okay.
uncomfortable.
We've digressed
Oh, I like
slightly.
digressing.
Okay, okay. Let's go back to the
Ladies and
other.
gentlemen, I sometimes do it on purpose just to see how long it takes for him to figure it out. It's my little revenge. Revenge for making me say things.
Oh dear. Right, let's talk about the because we haven't really touched on the impact of other countries and what
There isn't one
well
so far.
well
Have you found anything? I
I
haven't found
have
anything.
actually. I
Okay.
have.
Okay.
I've found the countries that could be more susceptible to this 4B
Okay. Hold
movement.
on 1 second, please. Have you found? Because what I said was, I haven't found any country where 4B has had an impact. And now you're saying more susceptible. So,
Susceptible. It hasn't happened yet,
oh, sorry,
but
yeah, you haven't found either.
no, no, no,
Ah, well, there we
no.
go. You see,
So I'm agreeing with you to some degree, although
I had to
although
drag it out of you.
although there are some flutterings, if I can put it mildly.
Mm-hmm.
And Japan is the one that's facing similar issues with this gender inequality because they have also had a problem with declining birth rates and they also have this patriarchal society still where women do not yet have the full equivalent to the male in terms of societal rights. And there's this expectation within Japan for women to stay at home, look after the kids. So their opportunities are slightly less than men, including wages, etc. So there is a similarity there, but also with Japan going through the same problem that South Korea are going through. Their populations are not growing, they're declining. So they need to do something more drastic to try and regenerate the birth rate. But clearly, this is frustrating women because they don't want to be told by society to have children, be at home. They don't want to be told. They want to make that choice themselves. And this is part of the problem with this 4B movement. And that's probably why they've got this axe to grind, that they don't want to be told. They want to
Hmm.
choose. And that's all they've asked for. And the fact that men are digging their heels in and saying, no, 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 that's a form
No,
of
you
control.
can't. You can't dig your heels in
They
because you
are. It's a
can't
form of
force
control.
women.
No,
I mean, the
no.
only thing you can do is okay. So if you're going to do it the hard way, I mean, you can either do it Tyler's way, by which obviously I'm not talking about the guillotine. That'd be ridiculous. But it's worth thinking about.
Oh,
However, however, two things you can do. One, women can't work. End of story. You can't go into the workforce. So it's up to you.
why can't
Or
you?
well, because we need you to be at home to help regenerate the population,
So you're
so that we're
actually
not.
stopping women from working,
Yeah, so
a
that
bit
we're not
like in
swamped.
Afghanistan.
Yeah, so that we're not. You see, Afghanistan doesn't have a birth problem, birth rate problem, or adopt Islam because that seems to be one great solution for sorting these things out. Or import a whole load of women from Bangladesh and India.
Hmm,
Oh, I mean Afghanistan.
interesting.
Yeah.
There's a weakness and susceptibility to a couple more countries, although lesser at the moment. And one is Taiwan, strangely, not China mainland, but Taiwan,
Western influence. Yeah.
and Singapore.
These countries are where Singapore's an Islamic country, isn't it?
No. Is
Is it not?
Singapore? No, I don't believe so.
I thought it was highly Islamized.
I don't know
Uh,
actually Singapore, but yeah, they are very patriarchal. You see, where you've got a patriarchal society, that could be where the problems
Absolutely
derive.
not.
Well,
Uh,
that does seem to be the case.
okay, so it's not. It's 26% Buddhist, 18 this is Singapore. It's
Yeah,
26% identify as Buddhist, 18% as Muslim, 17 as Christian, 8 as Hindu, 4 as Chinese traditional religion, sort of Taoism and Confucianism, 4% as other religions, and 22 as oinks who don't have any religion whatsoever.
interesting.
They're going
There
to
are there
hell.
there
Hell, I
are
tell you.
there are a number of other countries that are also unlikely to be influenced by this movement. In other words, they'll just bat it down and think, nah. The Middle Eastern countries, as you've already rightly said,
Yeah.
the due to traditional religious and cultural
I'd love
norms,
to see them try.
they that's not going to happen, right? So there's a lot of pressure there from a religious point of view, although probably behind closed doors, the women sympathize with that viewpoint, but because of the pressure of the society itself,
I don't even
because
say pressure.
I think it
Because of the
is,
fear of
because they
having your
can't
head hacked
speak
off on
up.
Friday after mosque.
They what? Sorry?
If for fear of having your head hacked off on
Yes.
Friday after mosque. I mean, these are strong, muscular men. No nonsense, no discussions. These are tired type people, man.
Okay.
They don't muck around with talk. No. You don't want to what? Say that again? I dare you.
Another one which is strange, which is down the pecking order, but could have, and there's been some murmurings there, is India, because they have a problem with gender there as it is.
Big one.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not even
still a
funny.
very, very patriarchal society, but
No, but it's not a good kind of patriarchal
no,
society.
it's not. It's
It's
not.
not a good kind of spiritual, and they also have a problem with RAPE, grape, as we say,
Yes, awful,
and
awful.
that seems to be clearly insane. I mean, I don't know what the heck is going on there.
Hmm,
So maybe you don't take women from India because I think their men already need their women there. To be honest,
indeed. There are two which might interest you that these countries, they have traditional family structures. The roles of men and women are deeply entrenched, and the societal and economic conditions might not support the widespread adoption of the 4B principles. And two countries in Africa have been singled out as no chance this would ever work. One is Ethiopia, and the other is your homeland,
Lord of
Nigeria.
heaven, for poverty, poverty. You people, they craze. Me bring that rubbish here. We'll deal with you, idiot. What do you mean? You're not going to do it, stupid thing. Go, get out of my face, my friend. That is yeah, that's gonna be too hilarious. Don't even
Oh,
wow.
it was never, it was, yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, no, I don't
So
think so.
now, what the research that I found was,
Sorry, did you say that we have strongly? It depends on what part of the country you're at, actually, in Nigeria. Yes,
okay,
in the Muslim north, yes, it's highly patriarchal. It's still a question of women need to explain why they're leaving the house and things like that,
mm,
right? But in the south, so Nigeria is very odd. We have a north, south, and east. We don't have a west because the west and the south are more or less the same. So Yoruba
right,
land is the south, and it's also south and west.
mm,
Since I left, there's now been like a south, which is ridiculous. But anyway,
mm,
so south, more Christianized areas, there is less of this distinction. Yoruba women are quite strong
yeah,
willed anyway.
mm,
So your husband telling you got to do this, you got to do that. That's probably going to take some doing.
yeah,
If you catch my drift,
yeah,
Igbo women are
yeah,
very strong willed too.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well, this
it's
is it.
not
It's because they've already got a lot of the things
independence.
the
Yeah,
South, yeah, the South Koreans are craving for. They don't
Mm.
have some of those, whereas a lot of the countries we've mentioned do have them to a
They
degree.
must have some degree of freedom because if you take the North, for example,
Mm.
it's like the Middle East. It can't get started. It's impossible to get started.
North of Nigeria, we're
Yeah,
talking.
it's
Okay.
impossible to get for it to get started because it's a highly Islamized area. What are you gonna do? You're not going to get married. I mean, it's not your choice,
Yeah.
unfortunately for them. So
See,
you can't
that's a
actually
tricky
say
scenario, isn't it?
you can't say no. It's not. It's just not possible. So it's not going to work there. The South, yeah, well, South is just laugh
But
because
is okay. Obviously,
they want to
Nigeria's
get
got these
married.
areas that are
Mm.
quite distinct. So is the government a religious government or is it a secular government in Nigeria?
It's supposed to be a secular government. Actually, it's a religious one in the sense that it's very important what religion a person belongs to. So the gentleman who is that gentleman, it's not a gentleman. I don't like it. Anyway, he's a Muslim
The
and is
president?
yes, the president is a Muslim. He's from the south, so he's from Yoruba land. Is President Tinubu,
Okay.
and the previous president was Buhari, who was from the north. He was a Muslim too. So we've had two. So the way Nigerians think is that, hang on, why don't we have a Christian now? You see how it is?
Mm,
Excuse me. But the reason that there wasn't too much of a kerfuffle about religion was because the guy was from the south.
right.
So it was leaving the north, the Islamic north, and coming to the south. It just happened that the person in the south this time happened to be a Muslim.
Muslim. Right. Okay. So he's not as traditionalist as some of the northern.
Sorry?
He's not as traditionalist in his views,
Oh,
is
he
he?
could be, but that's yeah, he could. Well, I mean, he's not, but I mean, he could be, but that wouldn't matter because
But the
the
country's
tribal
secular,
thing,
so he's
the
not
tribal
using.
thing
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
has been settled. Which is the tribal thing is a little bit about a smidgen more important than the religious thing, but they're both
Right.
really seriously important.
Okay. Okay. I'm mindful we're getting close to the top of the hour. So some of them, the factors that could influence the susceptibility, I can't even say this word either, of this movement elsewhere. And one of the questions was urbanization could be a factor, which is
Mm,
strange.
mm.
And it says more urbanized countries with higher levels of education and greater exposure to global social movements are actually more likely
Yes.
to see the influence of the 4B movement because
Mm.
they've already got a lot of it in place. It's just another level. And
Well, it's because of the influence of that horrible cabal that pushes leftist agenda into academia. So, as we've mentioned before on our shows, and as I just heard this afternoon on someone else's podcast, there's a speculation when they were asking the question, the host and guests were ruminating on the question, who is running America? And one of the guests, I believe you may know of him, is called Colonel Douglas McGregor. Have you heard of him? He's quite
no, I
famous.
haven't actually.
Okay. He said, well, he'd heard that no, sorry, he didn't hear. He said, do you remember watching 2020, 2021, something like that? You remember Kamala Harris sitting next to Joe Biden and someone pushing a paper in front of Joe Biden and he was just staring at it. And then she leaned across and said softly, but
Oh,
the,
yes, I
the,
remember
the
this.
cameras picked it up. The microphones picked it up, said, just sign it. And
Wow.
he's and and he signed it. He said, so if that happened, 2-3 years ago, just imagine. So the question then is, who's running this? Is it the Blinkens or what? And then someone said, well, he can't prove it, but he understands that Soros calls up the White House, and then things happen.
I'm not sure about that one.
No,
I do,
nobody
I
is because
do.
he himself said he couldn't prove it, but that's what he had heard.
Yeah, without strong evidence, it's very difficult. But regarding Joe Biden and in the US,
Mm,
strangely, they are one of the countries that could be further influenced by this 4B movement because the women there, there's some groups certainly could take it that level further and will be quite proud to explain it in that manner because it gives them leverage to be, I don't know, to be noticed, to be influencer in some manner. So
mm.
even though there's already better gender equality in the States than some other countries around the world, there are going to be a subsection of the society that will jump on this and maybe try and adopt it. But as you said earlier in the show, they like sex too much. Maybe
Mm.
they may not be that keen on all
Well,
the
what are
elements.
they saying now that by 2030, what is the exact figure? By 2030, a huge number of women are going to be the female equivalents of incels. Now, do you know what an incel is? INCEL.
I do, but do you want to explain it for our audience who may
Okay, an
not know?
incel is a man who is celibate but involuntarily so. So IN for involuntary, and then CEL for celibate, involuntarily celibate, can't get any sex. However, it's turning out now to be a sort of falsehood. It's not that men can't get sex. I mean, don't forget, can always go commercial if you want to. It's not that, and I actually advocate as a MGTOW, I advocate that men go commercial. So just keep it commercial. Or passport bro, which is another phrase you might not be aware
I'm
of.
not
Have you heard of the
familiar with that.
passport bro?
No.
Passport bro is a growing movement, which I hate, of Western men leaving the West permanently to settle in more traditional areas where the women are traditional. They feel they're not getting their fair shake in the West, and they want families. They want to get married, and the idea that men don't want to get married is nonsense. Just saying, well, we can't marry a Western woman because it's too dangerous. She will take my house, she'll take my kids, and she'll take half my pension. I'm not gonna
You see,
stand for
this
that.
this isn't a new movement. Eddie Murphy said it on a comedy show in the mid or early 90s.
Mm.
So it was
Said what?
happening then. He said he wanted to marry an African woman because American woman was too dangerous. He said that on one of his shows because he said she wants to take half. So he wants to go to Africa and find
Mm.
himself an African woman with traditions. The only problem is if he brings her to America,
Oh yeah, it's all
she would have
over.
been she would be influenced.
Exactly, because again, it's not the women, it's the system.
It's the system. So
So
when you say that these men are leaving
they're,
to
they're getting
find more
away from the
traditional,
system.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
and
right.
also no, hang also and traditional women,
Okay.
because there's a lot of disrespectful behavior from westernized women towards men, and so they don't, they just anyway. Long story short,
We need
what
to
what,
sum up, but yeah, go on.
what was I even trying to say? Oh, you've lost a train of thought. Summing up, I believe that for the movement, because it's got elements that I like, that they're trying to break the society, I think I will support it because it will force the men in South Korea to become even more restrictive and to deal with it,
Ugh.
possibly by, because what are we as men? What are we? We are the purveyors of violence, and that's what we do best. So when society breaks down, there's this, there's this, there's this. I don't know what is it, the saying. It says strong men create good societies, good times. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times. Bad times create strong men.
That is not a fact, but an opinion, by the
Fine. So
way.
our opinion is that we need to bring the bad times, because that will allow the rise again of the strong men. And obviously we think we're strong men.
Hmm.
So I therefore think
Okay. We have to
the
cut it
4B, I think
there.
the 4B people should we should support them so that they can bring on the bad times, and then the strong man can rise up again and
I
lay down
think
the law.
I disagree. I don't think it'll have much traction beyond some of the countries that are struggling to get some sort of acceptance for women to be more even keel with men in no society. So I don't think it will affect all women at all. Only this
I wouldn't mind
a
coming back
couple
to
of countries.
to do more on this show, because I'd like to ask you. I know we've run out of time. I'd love to ask you that in that case, why isn't it big in the Middle East?
Because they, from a young age, have been taught that their religion is above all else and they accept what the religion says,
Why isn't it big in
which says
Africa?
it's not big in Africa, but then the same applies.
Religion is not really. I suppose it
It
isn't.
is,
Yeah, it
it is.
isn't.
So,
It
yeah.
isn't. So.
Okay.
Okay.
We could go on at length, but
Mm.
unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.
Bye.